Man, look at the date in the corner. It's crazy. I had to remember to change it, but we are the first day of 2025 and it's like we never left, man. We are now going into year number 4 of Lions Syndicate. We started October 27th of 2021. That was the creation of this channel. But new year, same content, man. We got bigger things planned as well for the next 5 years. So just buckle up, man. It's going to be a good ride. But the Detroit Lions, everyone knows by now that they have been flexed for the second time in 3 years. The Detroit Lions are game 272. They will play the last game of the regular season. And man, it is absolutely flown past. They got flexed directly after Sunday Night Football. It went to where they were going to play the Minnesota Vikings. I was a little torn. I didn't know if it was a win and get in scenario or what because both of these teams are going to the playoffs. But when you got two juggernauts and you have, for the first time in NFL history, a 14-win team will be a wild card team, you got to flex this game. So it will be Sunday Night Football. And if you guys recall back in 2022, when the Detroit Lions had an opportunity to make it to, that was the year the NFL did not give them a single primetime game in 2022. And that was the year that they flexed us because that was a win and get in scenario. If the Detroit Lions beat the Green Bay Packers, then when they flexed us, we still had the opportunity to go if the Rams would have beat Seattle. And now, sweet revenge. Not only do we beat Seattle this year, but that loss that Seattle got to us helped them be eliminated from the playoffs before week 18. So now we come down to a situation where one of these teams will be 15-2 and one will be 14-3. The loser of Sunday night's game will start on the road against the 4th seed, which is now shaping up to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers get a win, then they are, I believe, in the playoffs, or they might need an Atlanta Falcons loss to get into the playoffs. But the Detroit Lions or the Minnesota Vikings, whoever is the loser of Sunday night's game, will be starting on the road, and they will either start at Tampa or at Atlanta, two teams that the Detroit Lions can definitely beat. But the reason that I'm making this video too is to show you how the narrative of the Detroit Lions has changed over the past couple of years. I predicted 2 years ago that the narrative was changing, that we were intentionally held out the playoffs because our time was coming. Little did we know that our time, I knew it was going to be very soon, but I don't know if I knew it was this soon, right? So the Detroit Lions this is a big game. I'm going to tell you why. Statistically, the number 1 seed usually makes the Super Bowl, or at least makes the title games. If we look at last year in the AFC and the NFC, both the number 1 seeds made it to the title games of the respective conferences. You had the Baltimore Ravens, which was the number 1 seed, against the 3-seeded Chiefs. Last year was a down year for the Chiefs. In the NFC, you had the number 1 seed San Francisco 49ers and the number 3 seed Detroit Lions. And had we not blown a 17-point lead, it would have been both 3 seeds in the Super Bowl. So I want you to take that. And if you go back and you look at the statistics of who makes the Super Bowl, it's usually the 1st seed. Like the 1st seed usually makes the Super Bowl. One reason is because you have one less game. I call it a bonus game or a free game. You have one less game. You also have home field advantage, and that is a big deal. For instance, I know that right now the Philadelphia Eagles are number 2. So the Minnesota Vikings or the Detroit Lions will be number 1. They will have a bye week. They will play the lower seed, which means they will play seeds 4 through 7. If those seeds, whoever wins is the lowest seed out of those seeds. And if it's Philly, that very similar to how Green Bay had to travel to Dallas last year. If it's Philly, who's left standing after the divisional round, then that means that the remaining team has to go into Lincoln Financial. I personally cannot do that at almost February. I can't do it. So I know I couldn't be there, right? So I know how critical home field advantage is. And this is a big deal for the Detroit Lions. But I wanted to show you guys something because I don't know if I've convinced you or if you need more convincing or whatever the situation is, but I have a theory that I've been talking about this for a while. And I made a video a few nights ago, and I don't think y'all were buying into it. A lot of y'all are sick of hearing it. But I assure you that the NFL is not. And what am I referring to? We'll get to that in a moment, but I think you all know. So the Monday Night Football, which was the last Monday night, week 17, was the highest viewed stream or game of the year. Like, I think it was the highest primetime game or something like that. The Detroit Lions broke records. They've been doing it for the last 2 or 3 years. Ever since that first season, they've been breaking records. But I want to show you something that I think is very telling. Again, I just go by statistics and patterns. I just go by how things work and what I see, and I use those numbers to come up with what I come up with. Check this out. This is the current playoff scenario, and I'm going to tell you what you see. All right? Well, you tell me what you see. The Chiefs and the Lions, number 1 seed. We know that the Chiefs got it locked up. Okay, so it is a real possibility that it is the Chiefs and Bills in the AFC Championship game. I totally predict that. I don't think the Steelers, Ravens, anybody else has a chance. I think the Bills are going to have to go to Arrowhead, and Josh Allen is going to have to conquer Patrick Mahomes for like the first real time and make his first ever Super Bowl. Over here, you got the Lions and Eagles. Now, I could see the Eagles being upset, especially depends on what happens with Jalen Hurts. I know Saquon Barkley is resting in a meaningless week 18 game because the Eagles have the number 2 seed. They can't go up. They can't not go down. And if they wouldn't have lost to the Washington Commanders in that last second game a couple of weeks ago, they would have been in play for the number 1 seed. It still would have been a thing. Obviously, the Lions would have had the Lions beating the San Francisco 49ers. The Lions would have still had the win. But if the Lions somehow lost to the Minnesota Vikings and something, I think the Eagles still would have, they would have needed 2 losses from us or something like that. But here's what I want you to see. Let's go down to the next seed. Well, what do you have here? I would not be surprised if it is also, I think, honestly, the Super Bowl is going to come down to, in the AFC, seeds 1, 2, or 3. That's my realistic assumption. In the NFC, what do you see? I've been trying to tell y'all this. I guarantee you, this is what I feel. If the Lions win on Sunday night, week 18, they will be in the Super Bowl. The Lions, if they are the first seed, they will be in the Super Bowl. Now, the Lions are a team that, in my honest opinion, if there's any team that could start on the road, the Lions are a perfect 8-0 on the road. If they start on the road, if they're the 5th seed, they have, in all probability, they're going to have to win most games on the road. The only way they would host a home game is if they are facing seeds 6 or 7. And that's a probability. If seed 7 was to beat seed 2, and then seed 7 beats seed 1, and then the Detroit Lions, if the Detroit Lions are seed number 5, they could host 5, could host 7 in the NFC title game. You rarely see that. I truly believe if the Lions are the first seed, they will go to the Super Bowl. There is one game, the divisional game, the NFC title game. They get the lower seed, and Ford Field is going to be a tough place to play. But I have been saying this for the past couple of years. Last year, it was the 1st and 3rd seeds. It would be funny, and this is not past the realm of probability. The Chiefs and the Ravens have switched spots. The Ravens are pretty much going to lock up that 3rd seed. I think they play, who do they play? Yeah, they pretty much are. They played the Cleveland Browns. They're probably going to, I know Cleveland beat them last time, but they're probably going to lock that up. So it could very well be the Ravens and the Chiefs, just like last year, but a flip where the Ravens were the 1st seed and the Chiefs were the 3rd seed. Now this is back to being the AFC title game. Now look over here. The 1st seeded Lions, I'm telling you right now, the 3rd seed LA Rams. If the Lions are the 1st seed, we're going to the Super Bowl. We are definitely playing in the NFC title game because we're going to get the lower seed, which means that we're going to play seeds 7, 6, 5, or 4 in the 2nd round. Okay? If all the home teams win that wild card round, then we're going to play seed 4, which right now is the Buccaneers. And the Falcons are hanging on. Both of these teams are in the hunt, but the winner is either going to be the Bucs or Falcons, okay? So, but here's what I want you to notice, this here. I promise you this. The Rams right now probably locked up that third. Matter of fact, they did lock up the 3rd seed because the next possibility, the Rams are probably going to beat the Seahawks. They're going to be 11-6. Then you drop down to the 4th place team is going to be either 10-7 or it's going to be, where's the 10-7 or 9-8. It's going to be one of the two. So the Rams have locked up the 3rd seed, which means the Rams right now will play the Commanders at home. They beat the Commanders, and then they would wind up being that 3rd seed. They would host another game, most likely, right? And then 2 games, they would be a direct kind of mirror image of what we were last year. They would host 2 games at home, and then they either, if the Lions or Eagles are still standing, they're going to come travel to us. That is what the NFL is trying to set up. So it's 2 things that I could almost guarantee. If the Lions get the 1st seed, I mean, you cannot write it any better than this. The NFL, you just can't. I guarantee that the Rams come to Ford Field in the NFC title game. Like, I truly believe that. And I also believe that the Detroit Lions, will beat the Rams, go to their first ever Super Bowl, and beat the Kansas City Chiefs to prevent them from three-peating. I have caught this time and time again. So, the 1st seed, if the Detroit Lions win against the Minnesota Vikings, they are the 1st seed. They're going to wait a week. They're going to host seeds 4 through 7, the lower seed, which would be the winner of the Falcons, Bucks, whoever wins the NFC South. It's going to be them. It's going to be the Packers, Commanders. I think the Commanders are beat by the Rams. The Packers could beat the Eagles. And the Vikings could beat the 4th seed, which means in about 3 weeks, the Vikings could come back to Ford Field for the divisional round, or the Vikings could possibly be upset by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know, but that's what if the NFL can make this happen, they're gonna. Because I'm telling you what, it would be the biggest watch games of the season. Would be the Super Bowl and Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford facing off in the NFC Championship game at Ford Field. Those would be the 2 highest rated. It would be that game and then the Super Bowl. I promise you that. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. This channel is made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. The foundation has already been laid, and we continue to build it. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions. I'm telling you, man, I be spot on with this stuff. We'll see how it turns out.